Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center, man. So today we're going to be breaking down some film on Sam LaPorta. So the very first play, man, we gotta have a situation of 3rd and 6. We got to get the first down and keep the sticks moving. And he kind of just ran a simple little in route. But this actually was a nice route that he ran too, though, man. Like, look at how he was able to break down and stay above, not lean too far ahead and keep his feet underneath him and just cut back on that line coming inside. Now, I will say that in terms of Jared Goff goes on this play, I know that this is Sam LaPorta film study, but one of the things that he could have probably did too to maybe increase, but I mean, at the end of the day, they still got the first down, was probably do a better job at kind of throwing with anticipation. And what I mean by that is, like, when you kind of look at it, like about around the time where he broke down, probably about right there, the ball kind of should have been coming out, because as soon as he sees, like, if you wait until he gets open and you see him, the defense sees him. So 9 times 10, they're going to break and rally to the ball. So just throwing with anticipation gives them a little bit, for one, gives them opportunity to protect themselves, but then also gives them the chance to run after, give them some opportunities to run after the catch. But I mean, they got the first down, so that's really all that mattered. So right here, we got another gotta have it situation. You got a 3rd and 3, 3rd and short. And I think that this was a design rollout play. But LaPorta does a good job at selling the block. So when he engages with the blocker right there, he kind of ties up with him, and he isn't trying to rush it. You know what I mean? He isn't trying to just chip and get to the next level. He actually sells as if he's blocking to kind of throw off the linebackers or whatever the case may be. And then as Goff rolls out, he rolls out to create a throwing lane. So that's one of the things I noticed about breaking film down from him, is being that whenever they draw up plays like this, is where he has to be like kind of a decoy, where he has to kind of block and then, block and hold and then go out for a route. Man, he sells that to a T. So once again, on this play right here, we have the same thing kind of drawn up as the play before, where he kind of sails as if he was going to block and kind of sits for a screen route. So like I said, once again, he does a very good job at not just trying to get his hands on him and run and move and run the route too fast. He does a good job at kind of getting his hands, engaging with him and making them believe, because a lot of the times I think that, well, I think a lot of times it's based off of the feel and the effort. If you are a D lineman and you can tell that he's not really trying to block you, if you kind of got to understand it, you're going to be like, okay, I feel like something is probably coming. Maybe it's a screen or whatever the case may be. But if he engages with you as if he really is trying to block you, it kind of throws you off to where you actually think that he's trying to block. So whenever he finally does release and get into his route, I mean, you kind of caught off guard with it. So it's kind of similar to what happens right here. And he kind of does a good job at, just following his blockers right there. Then you got one right up here. He just cut back behind that one, just maximize on the yards that he got, maximize on the yards he had after the catch. Sometimes it ain't always got to be a home run in terms of a touchdown, a long yard after catch run. It can just be maximizing on all the yards possible that you can get. So just, if you got blockers, just trying to follow those blockers and, get 3 to 5 additional yards opposed to not having those 3 yards additional. So, man, I've noticed that I need to probably study a little bit more on the Lions offense as a whole, not just what Sam LaPorta is doing, because, man, the play calling and the draw ups, the schemes and things that they run, man, these things are very, very, very creative, and it's very hard to defend because you just never know exactly where the point of attack is coming from. But you see on this play right here, they kind of ran a little trickery. And then once again, Sam LaPorta did the thing that he does the best, and that's selling him blocking. So it's almost equivalent to, this is what I would say, like, think about a boxer. So you know how a boxer uses his feint? He uses feints to be able to try to actually hit you with shots. So if a boxer is just throwing shots without feinting, more times than not, the other boxer, it makes it so much easier for him to predict that they're coming. So he can block them, parry them, slip them, get out of the way of them. But when he set them up with those feints and those feints and those feints and those fakes, it kind of catches him off guard. So now he feigned the jab 3 times, and now he finally throw the jab and commit to it. Now he catches him square on the chin. So it's kind of like that with him, with LaPorta. It's like he's very patient with setting it up. You know what I mean? Like on the play right here he had, where it was kind of a chip block thing, but he still was very patient with, being committed to it, right? He didn't just hit him and then run. He hit him, engaged with him a little bit more, and then ran. And then on top of that, man, made a phenomenal over-the-shoulder catch, man. And like I said, I think that he has the two-way factor with as being a tight end, you know what I mean? Because it's very hard to predict what they're going to do, because not only can he hurt you in the passing, he can also hurt you with blocking as well. So it allows you to be much more creative with the play calling. And then I like the last minute effort to make sure to dive into the end zone to make sure that he was able to score a touchdown on that play. I like how he fights for every single yard. So this play right here is another one of those plays, those examples of whenever you hear me talk about playing on script and off script. And to me, my version of it, when I say off script, it's like, okay, what can you do on your own? What can you do when things don't go the way that's planned? Obviously, when you drew this play up, you didn't draw the play up with the intention of the ball was going to be thrown and you was going to have to make a catch like this. When you drew this play up and you was running it on air more times than not, the ball was probably put in between your numbers. So what happens when that ball isn't there? Are you going to still be able to make the catch? And even if you don't make the catch, are you still going to be able to make the effort? But he gives the effort and he's able to make the catch. And then one of the things too that I see about him, like from breaking film down, is that he's very good at kind of just finding those spots, those soft spots, whether it's in the zone or just finding those soft spots, whether it's in a man coverage, where it looks like right here, looking at how those linebackers drop back. So I think it was the zone coverage, and he's just very good at finding those soft spots, sitting down and giving his quarterback a target. So right here, man, we got some more creativity by the Lions offense. They send LaPorta in motion, and then he does a good job at, once again, utilizing that jab, utilizing that setup. So once they send him in motion, look at how the edge defender right here, he kind of fakes as if he's finna try to block him and then goes out for his route. Now, here's the thing about that too. Now, for one, we want to give, I think that's Montgomery, right? Yeah, that is Montgomery. We got to give Montgomery some credit for that pass because Montgomery threw a pretty decent spiral to LaPorta. Now, for number 37, the corner that's chasing him. So if you look at the corner, when he seen that the ball was handed off to Montgomery, it looks like he was coming downhill to try to play the run. Now, that's one of those situations where it's almost similar to whenever you're dealing with, especially if you know the Lions offense. Now, I'm not sure exactly what week this was, but, from watching film, you kind of, you know how they like to get a little tricky with the play calling. So it's kind of similar to a mobile quarterback, where with a mobile quarterback, I know that you might want to drive downhill as a defensive back once you see him running to try to make a play. But unfortunately, you cannot, because as soon as you come downhill to try to make a play, he's going to throw the ball over your head and hit a wide open receiver. And in this case right here, he hit LaPorta wide open for a touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. I'm gonna have to go look at the Lions red area percentage just to see how high it was, because they get very creative down here in the red area, and more times than not, when I've watched so far from watching film on LaPorta, whenever they've gotten down there, they have been scoring. So right here, man, once again, LaPorta does a phenomenal job at selling as if he was going to block and then running a route. So they did a good job with motioning the guy right there from out of the way. So now that took the defender that was from in the area and moved him inside to create a possibility of the inside cut. And like I said, man, he did a good job at selling it right here, engage and shed. And there you go. Back of the end zone. Nice throw. Once again, we got another one of those infamous screen routes. LaPorta does LaPorta things again with selling it. And like I say, man, like these are the things that goes to show you the attention to detail in Ben Johnson, and then also even the attention to detail with LaPorta to make sure that you get across and stress the importance of making sure that we sell these things. I think a lot of times whenever it comes to situations like that where we're having to try to set up something, I think a lot of times, we tend to try to rush through it just to hurry up and get into it, and it kind of creates sloppy habits and execution, and it just kind of throws the execution off of it. But with LaPorta, man, he does a darn good job at really selling it, man. Like when you're watching it, and if like from looking at it from watching it, if I'm a defender, right? If I'm a defender, I'm expecting that this is actually like, look at how far he carries that. Like most guys are just getting your way and just, and then get upfield and get into that route or whatever the case may be. But with his, man, he actually sells it backwards. You know what I mean? As if he's really trying to block you from getting to his quarterback. Like, watch it here. Like he actually takes it all the way back there. Boom, let it go. Then once again, he's good at following his blockers. Let his blockers set up. He just follow him. He's a strong runner too. Physical, like I said, fight for every yard, man. And, he's just hard man to bring down. One man can't bring him down. That takes a team effort to be able to get him on the ground. But like I said, man, just a strong runner. And I just love the grit that he has, man, to just fight for every little yardage, man, because every yardage counts. So right here, you got a 1st and 10 play. It looks like Buffalo maybe was in like a Tampa 2, where you have two deep safeties, and then a linebacker would jump or would drop down into the seam area. So you'll kind of have like a cover 3 look. But he would be there to take away the seams and anything that's kind of underneath. So right here, LaPorta just did a good job, honestly, man, of just sitting down in the soft spot and giving Jared Goff a target. Because even when he releases, they're still backpedaling and staying on their heels. So in my mind, I would have been thinking too that they're probably just trying to keep depth and stay over the top top of it. And then, once I stop and catch the ball, they're just trying to come underneath and tackle to limit the game. But he did a good job at sitting down. Jared Goff got it to him in time enough for him to catch, run, and be able to make some yards after the catch. He just throws number 54 down like a little boy, and then he drags the pile on for a few extra yardage. So like I said, man, it's a lot to like about LaPorta's game, man. Like one of my biggest things I like is really just the level of physicality he brings, man. Like I say, stiff arming them and then just dragging the pile for another, 2 to 3 yards, man. Like I said, and in the game of football, every single yard counts. So right here on this play, man, you look at the score. Score is 48-35. 1 minute left. Game pretty much over with. But what I'm looking at is the level of competitiveness and the will to compete, regardless of what the score is, or regardless if the game may seem out of hand. Because I mean, at this point, how many people probably would have been like, man, this game over with. Then let's just go ahead and head into the next game. He's still out there competing as if it's actually a opportunity for them to win the game. Buffalo's playing a real soft coverage here. Obviously, probably just trying to give them some underneath. Just drive down, make tackles just to get the game over with. He finds that soft spot, sits down, and takes a hit. And like I said, that's another thing I love about him too, is the grit, man. To go across the middle. Most people do not like going across the middle because you know that more times than not, you're going to pay for it, especially dealing with physical football teams like one like Buffalo. And I mean, right here, the willingness to go across the middle, man, it just speaks to his toughness, and takes the hit. Boom. And stays on his feet and gets the first down. Once again, man, like I say, score 48-35, game pretty much over with. It's pretty much after this catch, it'll be under a minute left. It'll be down to just seconds left in the game, man. Like I say, once again, man, still competing. So you see right on the edge, he kind of gets in Von Miller's way before he goes out to his route. And a lot of times it's always good doing that too, because it kind of confuses the defense sometimes. Like if they see you going out, most of them might say, okay, we don't have say for instance, if it's a flat defender, if I don't see you go out for a route 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna assume that there's no threat in the flat, and I probably would just kind of get depth into either my zone or whatever the case may be. And what he does here is he shows as if he's gonna block, goes out for a pass, sits down. Jared Goff finds and put it on him. He's able to catch it, tuck, get upfield, and fight for some extra yardage, man. Like I said, man, just the grit and the toughness and just the competitiveness too. And he did a good job at holding on to the ball as well. You see guys right here, boom, and number 47 was trying to rip that sucker out. Normally, whenever one guy has a hold to you, or 2 guys have a hold to you, and the tackle is all secured, the 3rd person, 4th person, or somebody usually comes and try to get at the ball and pull the ball out. So good job at keeping the ball secured going down to the ground. All right, man. So right here, we got a gotta have it situation, man. You got a 3rd and goal. You're in the red area. You want to get touchdowns as opposed to field goals. Most of the time, that's how you're going to win ball games. And LaPorta just run a phenomenal route, man. Like he was running like a out route, and then he just abruptly cut it back in. And based off of that cut, he had already pretty much had the defensive back out leveraged. Now, I would say darn good throw from Jared Goff to be able to put that ball in that small pocket. I mean, you have to think about it. You got Fred Warner, and then you got the other 2 DBs. So you have to really put that ball in a spot like I'm talking about, almost like throwing to a keyhole. So he did a good job at threading the needle and getting it in there. And then once again, LaPorta does a good job at, honestly, man, just going into enemy's territory pretty much as a receiver or tight end or anybody who's going to be catching the ball. A lot of times you're going to be hesitant when you're going into enemy territory. And for some of y'all that don't know, that means the middle of the field, because most of the time pain is registered with that. And he does a good job at, running that route with no fear, and, just being confident in I guess in himself and even his quarterback, man, and, being able to come up with a touchdown. So right here, this is another one of those plays that just showcases LaPorta's toughness. Being able to go, like I said, go into tread into enemy's territory, knowing what awaits you. He did a very good job at the line of scrimmage with the linebacker trying to get hands on him initially. For those who may not know, a lot of times defenders try to get, especially in zones, they get physical with you at the line of scrimmage, get their hands on you to kind of slow down the timing, because everything is timing based. So they get their hands on you to try to slow down the timing, and it allows their safeties, for one, to be able to kind of be in a better position opposed to giving a guy free release. So he did a good job at the line, just being able to use his hands and kind of just swimming out of the line, or went from the linebacker right there, boom, just swim from him easily. And then once again, like they probably was in some type of zone. I can't see the back end of it, but seeing that he was able to get to a soft spot and just kind of Jared Goff put it to him. I would say kind of on the money. I mean, he had to kind of go up forward, go jump up for it to catch it. But you know, like I say, when you got a tight end that's as tough as him, man, he's gonna make that play. And once again, that goes back to the off script play that I always talk about. You know what I mean? Like when you draw that play up, obviously you're not drawing it up with the intention that your tight end is gonna have to jump up to catch the ball. You would assume that it would be put in a good position that would allow him to probably be able to even run after the catch, depending on the situation. So what happens when that doesn't happen? What happens when things go off script? Can you still make those plays? What happens when the quarterback is under pressure and he got to get the ball out of his hand and it's not always delivered exactly how you want it? Can you still make those plays? We need to get this man an Oscar, man. He deserves an Oscar. From breaking this film down, we need to try to get him an Oscar. He deserves one. So once again, man, he does a brilliant job at selling this. So he goes out to initially like he's going to block and then a swing. So I see that they also pulled a offensive lineman from the opposite side, number 73. So let me see that again. So they pulled number 73 from over there, and they used LaPorta to initially on the defender, on the edge rusher, to be able to engage him. And it like LaPorta was able to get physical with him as well. Like he put a nice little pop on him. Yeah. And then he went out for his route once again and then sat down in that soft space. So like I said, man, he's real good at finding those soft spots in the defense. And I think that being a tight end, you need to have that ability because those are things that's going to come into clutch situations, like whether it's third downs, whether it's even fourth downs or even red area possessions. So and he's shown that numerous amount of times that, you know, he can operate in those small confined spaces. So I guess it couldn't be no better play to end this film session off with. So I actually watched this game. I was watching this game live and that catch was like insane, man. Like it really was. So once again, what do I always say? On script and off script. This is another one of those off script plays. When you drew this play up, you did not think that the quarterback wouldn't have the time to be able to get the completion. And for whatever reason, man, their offensive line, it almost like they were trying to run a screenplay. Like that's how much penetration Commanders were able to get, because even if you look at LaPorta on the route, LaPorta had separation. Like, look at how much separation he had. Now, I see that whenever he ran the route, him and the linebacker right up here were kind of engaged. Now, I guess that's kind of, at first I was like, man, that might have been pass interference. But then looking at it, I think from where he was at, that was within the 5-yard range. So really, that was just a football play where they engaged. And obviously, LaPorta won the battle and was able to get a couple steps on him. But by the pocket collapsing and by Goff not really having time, he's having to try to roll out. Watch, look at all that red that's coming. Now, you know, obviously he's not a mobile quarterback, so, you know, he kind of got to try to get the ball out of his hand as quickly as possible. And he does that. LaPorta just does a darn good job at being able to make those difficult catches, man. And like I say, from watching this guy play, because I hadn't had enough time to watch him into detail. Like I say, my first experience really watching him this year was in this game right here. So I didn't know how effective he really was. And he's the reason why a lot of that stuff works within that offense that Detroit Lions have, man. He's a phenomenal player, man. I mean, he's a good route runner. He has the ability to make difficult catches. He has the ability to run after the catch. He also has the ability to be able to block whenever you need him. So he could be a 3-down tight end to where, you know, first and second down, you more so need him to block. And then third down, you need him to, to be able to contribute in the pass. Contribute to passing. And obviously, like I said, man, he makes a lot of his money, or he can make a lot of his money in the red area, being that he has a knack for being able to operate in those tight spaces. You know, he don't have this insane, blowing the top off of defense speed, which he doesn't need, especially at his position. He just needs to be able to operate in those confined spaces. And when you get in the red area, especially this close up, it's not a lot of room for you to be able to work. So you have to learn how to adjust, wiggle, and maneuver, and put yourself in positions to be able to come up with passes whenever your team needs him. Like I said, man, once again, man, just phenomenal catch, man. He was able to extend, reach out, grab that sucker with one hand, and then also reel it in with one hand. Let's see when they show the different replay of it. So he caught that sucker with one hand. Right here. Caught it with one hand. Boom. And then reeled it in with one. He didn't even use the second hand to try to secure it. He caught it with one and reeled it in with one. That takes phenomenal focus and phenomenal ball skills, man. But, man, if you guys did enjoy this video, man, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you got that notification bell turned on. That way you be updated every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.